Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And tonight we're going to be looking at this guy. This is the one that I've been refurbishing. I did a short on it, and yeah, this thing is in great shape. Not really a scratch or much of a damage to it at all in terms of wear. Even just looking at the keys, you can see very little wear. Does not look like it was used much. We'll get into what we can learn about this system. Well, from the badges we can get an idea of what the system has. And, you know, not a bad array of specs just showing up there. Excuse me, I got a bit of a runny nose. It's that time of year. Allergies. So Pavilion dv7. dv7 was quite a common Pavilion back in the day. These laptops were produced pretty regularly. So let's dig into it and see what we can find. Oh, and before we do that, let's take a look at our portage. We have exhaust, VGA, network, HDMI, eSATA, USB, couple audio, and a card reader. So you're on front, we got front facing Beats audio, and another one. And on this side, we've got some indicator lights, USBs, and an optical drive, another indicator light, and our power port. And of course a Kensington lock, because it's so easy to put a hole in a computer and call it a feature, right? Excuse me. Really got the congestion today. Thanks for bearing with me on that. Okay. And how are you doing, by the way? I hope you're doing well. So here, let's take a look at the basic Windows 7 information. Running Service Pack 1. It came with Service Pack 0 when I factory refreshed the system, factory reset, whatever. And that is a really nice thing to be able to do because you start fresh. But it did entail me installing Service Pack 1 and all the other special service packs you need to install to get Windows updating. Yeah, you know what I mean. So there you go. It's updating. AMD Phenom 2 P960 quad core running at 1.8 gigahertz. And it's running the 64-bit OS. And yeah, there you go. It's activated. It was activated right away. Didn't even have to go on the internet. And I always like to make sure that the drivers are all looking good. It does have a biometric device, which is this thing, fingerprint scanner. And how that works is if we lock it out, let's lock out Windows. It's all locked out. I could punch in my password, but let's do this instead. And it works. So gotta love that. So all our drivers are working and all set up. Interestingly, they have an AMD M880G Radeon HD 4250, which is kind of part of the more or less the Phenom, I believe, processor, and then it has its own separate specialty processor for the heavy lifting. Maybe say if you start using a game or something, then it'll start using this processor, which is the HD 6370. And the idea, let me just turn this down, it's louder than I expected here. Bear with me. Sorry about that, kind of escalated in sound. Yeah, so the idea behind this is one would just handle the basic graphics of, say, running Windows graphics, basic graphics where you don't want to use up a lot of power when you're, say, running your battery or something. But then when you really want it, say running a game, you would have this switch over the graphics, and this 6370 would take over. So I think, excuse me, I think only AMD would make such a complicated system. But they did. This is what they did back in the day. As a result, it runs pretty hot, but it's survived. It hasn't had a lot of real use, to be honest with you. But you know, it was a powerhouse back in the day, and we'll see how it does with the Nova Bench to see how it performs with you know, with the standard testing that we do with these systems. So let's get out of there. Now, let's take a look at the Windows experience. So the experience is sort of, as you might know from knowing anything about Windows, it's sort of, the idea was it would give you a sort of a generic way of kind of benchmarking your system, so that when you bought software, the idea was this: Microsoft would say, okay, this type of software requires a minimum score of this, right? And the expectation was is if this took off, you'd always have these performance scores, and you could align the software that you use with these kind of performance scores to know how your computer would sort of run with certain types of software. So it's sort of another way of the Microsoft had in mind for saying, hey, you bought yourself a budget system, it doesn't meet certain standards, you're not going to be able to run certain software, or it's going to run badly. We kind of expect a minimum of this, right? So it didn't really take off because, of course, the manufacturers want to make things as cheaply as possible, and their own OS manufacturer is more or less showing them up for being, you know, their systems for being garbage. But anyway, so you don't see that anymore, but we can still Nova Bench stuff and find out how it compares to other systems. So there's other software to take care of that. So here we go. It's running the Caspian Phenom 2 X4, meaning 4 cores. Running a pretty big 45 nanometer process. So this is not going to be a cool lightweight processor. But running at a fairly, low megahertz rate. It's got all kinds of instruction sets, so it should be able to handle a lot of different things you throw at it. And it's got four cores and 4 threads. So no hyper threading stuff. We're just talking real cores. All right. This is your board information. It's running a 2011 F27 BIOS, and it has a PCI Express 16 for that specialized chip, graphics chip. So we should get some decent, I would think we get some decent frame rates out of this, I would think, but a lot higher than a lot of contemporary Intel systems would produce. So you probably are going to get into the maybe hundreds, I would think. 50 is sort of my threshold. You want at least 50 FPS, and 100 is you're starting to do okay. Anything above 100, you're like in great territory in terms of graphics performance versus a 50, frames per second sort of performance. So it's running dual core DDR3, 6 gigahertz, running at 533. Let's take a look at those individual sticks. We got a 2-banger, a 2 megabyte from 2010, and we've got, and that's a Micron, and we've got a Samsung also from 2011. So maybe an add-on, maybe there was an additional stick added on there because it seems a little older. Nonetheless, I'm not sure if, I mean, it's running the same type of RAM, same 667 1070, so it's able to, yeah, same thing. So although it's a different brand, it's able to definitely do the dual channel performance. Yeah, so that's always good. There's our processor chip graphics with 512, and then the real graphics powerhouse running at 512. And it's, oh, this is not really actually accurate there. It is a 512 chunk of memory it's going to be running. So yeah, we will see how that does. Close that out. So it's a good basic info there. So just summarize, here we go. We got the operating system information, and we got the temps, is what I'm always looking for. So the temps are actually running really well, lower than I'd expect actually for a AMD system. 38s, 39s, yeah, in the 30s is really good for all those scores. The monitor itself is operating at 16 by 900. It's a nice big, like definitely a desktop replacement level system with the keypad, American standard keypad, and very standard, or not just keypad, but keyboard with the keypad. So very comfortable to type with if you're used to using a full-size keyboard. So that's cool. And it's got the old, it says 596. I think it's a 620 Samsung. In fact, we'll find out in a second. So Samsung hard drive, and we'll get a read on that in a moment. So that gives us a pretty good idea of what we're dealing with there. And before we get into that, let's take a look. Yep. Oh, 640. That was a 620, 640 gigabyte hard drive, and SATA 300, so not bad. 54,000 RPM, so kind of a standard. It's not the faster 7200, but it's okay. And let's see how many hours or how many days it's been running. 64 days, so maybe a couple months, right? A couple months of usage, if you can believe it. It's, again, one of these systems I get, and it's been, just looking at the condition of it tells me it's been sitting in somebody's closet or in someplace, somewhere, some drawer, some closet, somewhere, just never used. Amazing. And yet it shows up at the thrift store and it's running like a champ. So here's our core temp thing. It doesn't really give you as many temperatures as the other one, but again, it confirms that we're in the 30s, higher 30s, I guess, readings. So that's actually good for that type of a system. It tends to run usually pretty hot. There we go. Okay, let's do the final step in the process here, shall we? So we're gonna go and we're doing the Nova bench, and it's got complaining about something being open, and I don't think I know what it is, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna just proceed. So this is the moment for me to say, hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. It's been a nice sunny Saturday. Been out a lot today. Did a lot of walking. And of course, that's why I've got a congestion like crazy, because it's that time of year for me. I'm taking my allergy pills like crazy, and that makes me tired at night. So you might notice I'm almost slurring my words because I'm so tired. As soon as I take these antihistamines, they really wipe me out. But I figured, hey, I'll do a quick video with you guys. Whistle here. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting to the point where we're going to get a read on the graphics, which is what I always am interested in. Okay. Oh yeah, we're not disappointed. It's right into the 200s, higher 200s. That's impressive. For this kind of a system, of this vintage of 2011, those kind of scores are incredibly high. So let's see what the overall score is going to be. 471. That's actually excellent score for this age of computer. That is a powerhouse. So very nice. With that 6 gigabytes of RAM, and then using this decent, 4-core processor. Scoring quite a good score there, but the real thing that blows my mind is look at that FPS, 245. That's one of the better scores I've seen, and the hardware transfer scores are excellent as well. So overall, this is a really solid system, well balanced. You could definitely get most of your whatever you wanted to get done on it done. And interestingly, it came with quite a bit of actually fairly useful software, which, a lot of times it's bloatware, right? You see with these systems. Let's close that out of the way. There we go. One of them is this program called Fences. I'd never heard of it before, but they included it. It's a company called Stardock that made it, and it gives sort of a utility program that gives your desktop a little more functionality by being able to, you're able to organize your shortcuts into sort of named shortcuts and give it a lot more organization, because typically when you have a bunch of scattered shortcuts across your desktop, it isn't necessarily the best way to access commonly used programs. So this allows you to organize them better. It does a lot of different things. I still haven't really honestly given it a lot of attention to understand how it works, but this is a nice little feature they included in with the other programs that they bundled with the system. So let's see what else we can see here. So I was surprised at the kind of some of the things they were bundling, because that's a pro program. It isn't like some gimpy thing. Like obviously Snapfish is like junk. You gotta just remove that. But let's take a look at some of the things they included. Here we go. So Paint Shop Photo Pro 3 X3 and Video Studio Pro X3, those are actually included. You've got your Cyberlink DVD Studio or Suite or whatever, that's included. Has a LightScribe DVD burner, and I think those are the main things that they included. There's a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, Stardock. Here's the Stardock one, which is the Fences Pro. So yeah, those are pretty useful things. Like a lot of times And of course they have the Roxia thing. That's the CD burner stuff. Movie store. Yeah, this almost looks like junkware. I'll have to probably get rid of that, by the sounds of it. But yeah, they offered some decent stuff. And I always like to see that if they are going to include stuff. I don't like all the junkware they give, but something like a paint shop or a video studio type program might actually be useful. And certainly this utility for organizing your desktop icons could actually be useful. But again, I have to learn a little bit more about it to make good use of it. But anyway, guys, that is the summary, the review, I guess, of this system I just refurbished. And you know what's so nice about a system like this and refurbishing it is when it has a factory reset partition that somebody hasn't gotten rid of. And it just makes my job so much easier when I'm refurbishing these things. So yeah, this thing is pretty much ready, good to go. I'll be putting it into its rotation, getting it out to the old coffee shop. Although this thing is pretty beastie, pretty big. It's got a really thick battery that lifts it quite a bit off the ground, which of course improves ventilation, which is a good thing. It's got a subwoofer on the bottom, which is not something you see on a lot of audio systems for laptops. So the sound's probably pretty good, but again, you can only go so far with sound in a laptop case, in my opinion. But you know, it's all right, better than some. And yeah, it has everything works perfectly because of course it's a factory reset and none of the components are broken or worn out or anything like that. So yeah, it's a great old system. So again, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're again having a great Saturday. And you know, I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming by, stopping by, having a coffee, sitting down, looking at what I've been finding at thrift stores. And there you go. Talk to you later.